Hey gang, I got something for you. We all know email marketing is one of the few activities that directly leads to sales for our businesses. I love sending messages to my list and watching the responses, leads, and sales come in day and night. But email marketing has been beaten and bruised by a lot of shady marketers over the years. That's why I listen to a podcast called The Email Marketing Show. Rob and Kennedy teach psychology-based email marketing in a way that is enjoyable for you and your subscribers, making email valuable and extremely effective. The show is fun, no matter what your email savviness might be. Subscribe by searching for the Email Marketing Show wherever you get your podcasts or visit emailmarketingheroes.com.
Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's about the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I'm Seth. I'm here with Rada of a few different agencies, right? You have Citronade, which is the naming agency. And you have another one too, don't you?
I don't have another one. I just have one. It's the Citronade. That's the naming, branding, and category strategy agency.
You do a lot of stuff with Founder Institute.
I mentor with Founder Institute, and I'm working on a different startup that's a MarTech solution called Gossip. I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I only have one advertising agency.
Yeah, and it's even more specific. It's about naming, which is really cool.
Naming, category strategy, branding.
I love it.
That's our specialty, and we pretty much want to stay right there. We don't want to expand into a full service offering.
No, you have a niche category. I mean, because then people know exactly what to call Mara up for and whatnot. So that's a good thing.
It's made to be where my strengths are and also where most of my interests are.
It's nice because, I mean, you see a lot of people who are like, I'm going to do marketing, or I'm going to do digital marketing, or I'm going to do web design, but they don't specialize on a niche. They don't specialize on a specific area within that. And people think niches, riches are in the niches, and people think niches on the other side, on the client acquisition side. You only do work with XYZ company. But you can also have a niche on the other side of what kind of services you provide, which is nice. So
I think people are afraid that if they limit themselves to just a number of services, then they won't have customers from other areas. But in my opinion, it's important to specialize and be an expert into something, not necessarily know a little bit of everything and not excel at anything.
So you've been doing this for a while now, and you went to the University of Ottawa. You're up in the Great White North, which of course it's now summertime, so it's not very white. It's very summer-like up there. But you're originally from Romania, right?
I'm originally from Romania, which is in Eastern Europe, which is in Europe despite the wishes of some.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a beautiful language, and it's a great country. You got castles and all that stuff. So you came to
we
Canada.
Do, and we also have Dracula.
That's true. That is the fame there. So you went to the University of Ottawa. What did you study at the University of Ottawa?
That's very interesting. I studied political science with a focus on electoral marketing. But why is that?
What is that?
I was going into why that is, but what is that is basically the political marketing strategy. Knowing how to do marketing strategy for political actors, political parties, political entities. Before coming to Canada, I ran and won as the head of campaigns for the Liberal Party in Romania, 3 major electoral campaigns, the national elections, local elections, and European Parliament elections. which we all won when the party was incumbent. So I thought at that time that I would come here and continue to do the same type of work in North America. But we have a saying back home that the math you do at home before entering the fair doesn't match what ends up being at the fair. So there's
I love sayings because they're so funny. So after University of Ottawa, did you go straight into doing your own business? What did you do after that?
I waited for a few years until I was able to legally work.
Oh,
So there's that. Yeah, the
there's
life
that.
of an immigrant,
Yeah.
My story with the university is a little bit complicated, but definitely very interesting. So
Oh.
after I finished my master's, which I took as the fastest path to immigration, because doing a long-term accredited program gives you a path to immigration much
Oh,
faster
really?
than, yes. So it goes like this. You apply, if you're accepted, you basically get the papers and you can come. To me, it happened in just a few months as
Ooh,
opposed
look
to
at you,
having to
hotshot.
wait for several years. Yeah, I got a full scholarship from the University of Ottawa and I applied. I came within the same year. After finishing my master's, I got a scholarship for a PhD, advancing the studies. So I did 1 year of the PhD at the University of Ottawa, but afterwards I dropped out because of
That's a lot.
it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
series of administrative, and in my field, and particularly with my interest of coming back to business and not becoming
Yeah.
an academic, it was completely not needed. But because I enrolled into a PhD, I missed the window to
Oh, no.
apply for the immigration path after finishing my master's.
Oh.
So I took a different to immigration. Then I was sponsored by my spouse. So we had to wait for several years until I was allowed to work again.
That's weird that they stop you from working. You think they
Yes,
would want to have you work so they could take your money so that
you'd
they
think
could
so.
pave the road.
So
That's
I've
interesting.
read recently some statistics that immigrants with high degrees of education have the highest percentages of unemployed amongst immigrants, going over 20%. So if you have a PhD, you're definitely less employable than someone who only has a master's. And there's also, if you acquired most of your education and experience in a different country, you
Oh.
don't have what Canada defines here as Canadian experience, as if Ogilvy, Romania is any less than Ogilvy, Canada. But hey, those are life of an immigrant.
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
So tell me about LinkedIn believes B2B marketing can be B2 brilliant, B2 bold, and B2 breakthrough. How? With a platform purpose built to make B2B marketing mean more for your business. A platform with tools to help you build better relationships with your key customers, to boost your buyer's journey while building your brand. A platform with trusted data and lead generation you need to beat your KPIs, drive ROI, and stand out amongst the competition. And with the targeting tools on LinkedIn, you can reach your precise audience right down to their job title, company name, location, and more to make sure your ads are always seen by those who matter. So let's get ready to B2 boldly go where no marketer has gone before, because LinkedIn is where B2B is everything it can be. Rethink your B2B marketing ads and get $100 credits on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Your Gossip Social. I've been playing with that. It's pretty cool.
Gossip Social just received an update and now we do word cloud. So we can tell you what people mostly talk about. It's a tool that helps you engage people based on the interest that they have towards a specific topic, based on the personal sentiment someone has
That's really
towards a
cool.
specific topic. So that's what makes it very interesting because we look at sentiment, particularly when we look at brand sentiment. And we like to assess that big brands want to know what sentiment they have in the real world. But we don't look at the sentiment of people who talk about a specific thing. And we don't realize that we can engage with them in positive output or in negative output. For example, if you have an offering, isn't it easier to find out who's upset with your competition and go and engage those exact people when they complain about it? So it answers all the whys. Why you? Why now? What you have to offer better. It's time relevant. It's not spam. You engage with them in public, not through a DM. People are more inclined to respond because it also increases the visibility of their initial content.
Yeah.
It's a win-win-win for everyone.
And it runs on the Twitter platform, right? That's the sweet spot.
Currently, it runs on the Twitter platform, but as we finish putting up the elements for the Twitter platform, we want to expand it to other platforms where business happens.
So you've done a lot in Romania, you've done a lot in Canada, and you've worked in business and industry. What made you go out on your own and not just go work in corporate North America stuff?
Two things. First of all, I was not able to get a job in North America because I didn't have the Canadian experience and I was overqualified for most of the positions. And many companies prefer, when they deal with immigrants, to hire them at a more entry-level position. I wasn't applying to those positions. And for the level of the positions I was applying, which was Director of Marketing, VP of Marketing, CMO, I didn't have the network. So
Oh, they'll do it, yeah.
that was an issue. And because I've been in the advertising world since the end of the 90s and I worked with some of the world's top agencies, A-Level, Ogilvy, Gray, OMD,
Wow.
and with some of the biggest clients in the world, I grew up formed in that advertising mindset and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the very few people in the world who think advertising is extremely cool when it's done right, when it's
I
done
know,
with
I
the
agree with
proper
that too.
insights,
Yeah.
proper strategy, ads that are catchy, interesting, appealing, the type of advertising that is charming and attracting, not stalking and nagging.
Looking at you, Facebook, looking directly at you.
Oh, looking
That's
at you,
creepy.
LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, but LinkedIn, I feel like LinkedIn is more relevant. Facebook, and I feel like personally, I feel like Facebook's just creepy. Like I got a dog, and the next day all I have are ads for dogs, and not one spot did I even announce that I got a dog. Answer me
Eh,
that one. Oh
yeah.
my god! I
Well,
mean,
you
it's
left
creepy.
cookies. You left cookies on other websites that have the Facebook pixel. So there you go.
So, what is the best? So, since you've been an entrepreneur for a while, what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
The best thing about being an entrepreneur is also what's the worst. That you get to decide the path that you want to take. That's an advantage. It can also be a disadvantage. It's an advantage because you have a lot more independence to focus on the subjects that matter to you, the problems that you want to solve in the world, and you get to give them your approach and your mindset and your framework. But it can also become slightly isolating
Yeah.
because it's less likely that you have as many people to brainstorm with. You have less colleagues that you can brush ideas off. Uh, you don't have the benefit of showing any doubt because that can have a negative effect towards your employees, your partners.
Yeah.
So, in many cases, it can be an isolating experience. But I wanted to mention something since we're looking at entrepreneurship and
Mhm.
we've discussed about my Eastern European background and so
Yeah.
on. I wanted to mention that entrepreneurship is very much culturally defined.
Hmm.
As I grew up, my mother was an entrepreneur.
Oh.
I lost her very, very early. She passed
Oy.
away when she was just 55, pancreatic cancer. And I blamed the lifestyle that she had to have as an entrepreneur on poor life habits, poor
Hmm.
eating, low level of self care, everything dedicated towards business, towards making that business succeed, which she did, but at what cost? So, for many years, I was not happy with the concept of running your own business. And I have to say, entrepreneurship was something that formed in after I was on the other side of the pond. And it's a different mindset here.
Yeah.
And as a child who lived communism, I was 10 or 11 when communism fell. I've caught a bit of it. Doing business has different cultural reference. And back home, and especially in the early years, in the years of my formation, we even have this term, Bischnitzer. You can see the relevance. Now, what Bischnitzer means is that you buy a product, you mark it up, you sell it, you add no value. It's just a sort of arbitrage that's done to profiteer and take advantage of people. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the cultural framework in which I grew up. Business is something bad. Business is for the greedy. Business doesn't add value. Business just takes advantage. So take that into consideration. And what happened to my mom, I was obviously not very drawn to it from the beginning.
So it's almost happenstance because you couldn't work in Canada that it came back around.
It was a combination of that, but also having stepped into the founders and startup world, which I found has a lot of similarities with the advertising world that I grew up in. It's a very vibrant community
It is.
full of people that who have a lot of drive. So that
Yes.
attracted me to it and helped me see entrepreneurship through a different lens. And as I started to mentor initially with local accelerators, then with Founder Institute Vancouver, then Western Canada, and then grew from there, I noticed that there is a big gap between how big brands brand and how founders and early stage startup brand, which is not at all. So
That's so true. They're like, brand? We don't know brand. What? No.
yeah, branding, naming, it's usually, oh, what is it that we're doing? We have a business solution. Let's call it B2B SaaS Technologies Inc.
Horrible.
Yeah, it is. And I noticed that, and I noticed the gap, and I realized that I can help this world, I can help this ecosystem and help them grow and carve a niche for myself. So it was the intersection of many aspects
That's
between
awesome.
knowledge, passion, gaps in the market, and problems that people needed to solve. That's what put together this going out on my own. I didn't go out on my own because I didn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm one of the very few lucky ones who lives in a family that, while we're not doing tremendously, we also don't have to think, how are we going to pay rent next month? So I had the opportunity to do the mentorship pro bono and to ingrain myself in this community and help
Yeah.
before I identified where my values lie, what do I want to do, where's my expertise, and where can I help the world do better.
It's almost like the Founder Institute, you help them, but they also help define you and how you
Absolutely.
is very much mutual. Is almost not even pro bono. It was almost like they paid you in experience. You paid them with your experience. And it was a mutual coming of age kind of thing.
That's what always happens with mentorship. Mentorship is traditionally seen as a one-way road. You give advice to the mentee. But it's actually a two-way road because you, as a mentor, you help stay connected to what happens in other industries, at other levels of business, and you get to learn mindsets and frameworks. You're always up to date. You give and
Yeah.
take. It's a mutually beneficial relationship.
So I have a question for you. What is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
I think it's my values. It's combining what I believe in and helping the ecosystem move towards the values that resonate with me, whether that's mentorship or clients.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work for the sake of making money. I
Mm-hmm.
work for the sake of helping people that I believe in, people solve problems that I think are important and that are relevant in this world, not just add another B2B SaaS solution. Is this really going to make a change?
Mm-hmm. I love it. So Mara, where can people find, obviously CitroenAid.id is one spot they can find you. Where else are you hiding online, or not hiding for the matter?
I'm
Where can
not
we find you online?
I'm not hiding on LinkedIn, where I am Mara Rada. And I'm also not hiding on Twitter, where I am Mara Rad.
Very cool. And we'll put those links in the show notes. Thank you for being on. This has been such a fun time.
Thank you, Seth. It was a pleasure to be here with you.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
How do we use communication to make the world a better place? I'm Dan Farkas, part of the Marketing Podcast Network. My new podcast, The Strategic Communicator, tries to answer that question. We feature industry leaders who offer tangible advice you can actually use after the show, and we'll learn about the people behind the process. Let's use communication to bring about a better planet. Subscribe today to the Strategic Communicator Podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.